Welcome to This Week Inside Sim Racing. I'm Sean Cole, and I'm here with my good buddy,
Darren Ganji.
And This Week Inside Sim Racing is sponsored by iRacing.com, where they actually have a really cool promotion right now going where it's actually half off. And you can take advantage of that deal by going to iRacing.com/half-off. Or we actually have a banner at our website right up top, and you can click on that and it'll take you to the same deal.
That's right. And speaking of iRacing, we're going to have our recap of the 120 minutes of Thunder at the Glen that took place on June 30th later on in the show, plus a few other things, so stay tuned for all that. But got something else.
Yeah, first up today we have RACECAR Studios. We got it on the screen here behind us. And they're the makers of Game Stock Car, and they have released the 2012 version of that title that was based on the ISI R-Factor engine. If you're not familiar, RACECAR was a group of modders that created, without doubt, some of the best content for R-Factor. They decided that it was time to do what Simbin and the Sim Factory had done before them and put it together in a package as a standalone sim.
That's right, and in my opinion, they've probably taken this engine to its max. I mean, do you agree?
Oh, I do. They do some very unique things with this engine.
Yep, Simbin is actually using an older, even more dated version of the G-Motor 2/ISI game engine. Game Stock Car, though, uses the most current version of this technology. If you purchase the 2010 version, or 2011 I think is when it came out, version of Game Stock Car, the 2012 update is free, which is what we're talking about here. And if you haven't purchased it yet, I highly suggest you do for $30.
Yeah, to make it even kind of sweeter, they've extended that trial period, so it's now 60 minutes. So if you just want to get in, try it out, see if you like it before you make that $30 plunge, you can do that.
Yeah, and if for those of you that did have the previous version, all you got to do is install this one on the same computer that you had it on. Sean actually didn't. He had it installed on a previous computer. He just rebuilt his new one. So if you need your old serial number.
Right.
So as long as you have that serial number, you can register. You click the online version, and you're all set. And speaking of the original version of Game Stock Car, if you haven't seen our review, we have it in the description here of the video, the link to it at least, so you can go ahead and check it out if you want to.
And Game Stock Car 2012, this is all a representation of the Brazilian Stock Car series for 2012 season, with 32 cars and teams on 12 different tracks. But it doesn't stop there. For those of you that own the original and or may have seen our coverage on it here, know that the original had some mods or DLC that came out after its launch. There were a few tracks as well as the Formula Classic, which is based off of Ayrton Senna's McLaren of the late 80s, as well as 2 other Formula cars as well as other tracks.
And for GSC 2012, not only do you get all those mods, but they've also added the new generation Camaro SS as a pace car and standard road car version with some standard paint jobs. They're also coming out with a Mini Cooper as well later. The new track included is Autodromo Internacional de Taruma, which we have running here in the background, which looks great. I mean, I've got our some settings that we're going to talk about later here that Bob Coulter gave us from the Sim Factory, and got them all dialed in on our NVIDIA card here, so we'll have those settings for you. But I gotta say, man, the textures and stuff look 2012.
Oh, definitely. You wouldn't know this is the old R-Factor engine. I mean, it doesn't look dated, in other words.
And besides this new track, there's been updates and new layouts added to the tracks already that were included in the game.
Right. There's also a new track by Alex Zazak, and that's Autodromo Floripa. It's a fictional track, and it's made specifically for Game Stock Car 2012. The 4.2-kilometer track is located on Florianópolis, an island off the south coast of Brazil. Alex actually did a little experiment to see if he could build a track in a matter of days, and he went from nothing to a working track in-game in a matter of 4 days.
Yeah, so that's pretty incredible. So we're going to tell you what we think about this new version, at least from what we've been able to gather in the time that we've been trying it. We honestly like it so much. We love the first version, and again, probably the best use of this engine, that we signed up for the Touring Pro series that's running. Touring Pro series is a partner series that's running through our forums, and they have their own website and stuff, but they've got all their communications going on in our forums. But I knew they were going to be running this title, and we decided to sign up. So Sean and I are both using T500 wheels, and the force feedback right out of the box is pretty amazing. It's using real field technology. So, as a matter of fact, got some tips for dialing in a T500. For most of the cars, have your Windows profiler settings to no more than 400 degrees of rotation. And actually maybe a little bit less for the Formula cars.
Yeah, and for the Camaros, they actually recommend or allow you to use 900 degrees, but for it and all of the cars, they recommend cranking up the steering ratio to more than 20 degrees. For the Camaro, they recommend 33. Also, on the force feedback slider, if you're using a Thrustmaster, make sure to put it into the positive force feedback versus Logitech and Fanatic are going to be in the negative, and that's something I missed, and you caught me kind of doing the backward steering thing there.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, there's presets to almost all of these wheels, and the Thrustmaster preset cranks the force feedback all the way to -100, and it should be the opposite. Everything else, it's actually cool because they map all the buttons to the standard T500 wheel, so that's a cool feature. There's also some other cool tweaks for Game Stock Car, and we have them and the whole FAQ posted on our forums in the new Game Stock Car section. So more on what we think of it. What's cool about this being, basically this is a modding team, like we mentioned earlier, that has taken R Factor to its max. But everybody's like, well, why don't I just get R Factor and get the mods for free? Or I already have R Factor, why don't I get the mod? You can't get this package for R Factor as complete as it is.
Yeah.
With Real Feel, all the plugins, the map plugin, all these tracks dialed in properly to these cars, the other mods for $30.
It's quality control. That's what it is.
Well, not only that, come on, these guys deserve to be paid for this work. This is art as far as I'm concerned. This is sim art. These guys, RACECAR Studios, these guys know how to massage this engine to its max, and they definitely have. And kudos to them again for taking it to the next level. I think their next title is actually going away from this title. I'm not sure actually. I'm not going to say anything, but they got their Ayrton Senna title coming up. But yeah, it's really cool.
It is. One thing for you NVIDIA owners out there, we were talking to Bob Coulter, the Sim Factor. You mentioned this a little earlier, though, and he gave us some very specific tweaks that are pretty good general R Factor tweaks for NVIDIA cards, and we've posted those in our forum.
All right, well, we've already reviewed this, and again, this is just basically some updates, so we're not going to go too far in depth. We're pretty much going to wrap it up, and in doing so, we're both pretty much going to say this is probably one of the best multiplayer league platforms out there for the guys that want something based on this ISI platform. It comes with 3 open wheel cars, 2 tin tops, and then the Mini Cooper coming later. And with the great multiplayer code that's using the most current version of R Factor technology, and the guys that know how to massage this engine to its fullest are the guys behind this title, RACECAR Studios.
You're absolutely right. And if you want to check it out for yourself, you can go to RACECARstudios.com. Right there, they have a Game Stock Car link because they make more than just Game Stock Car. And like we said earlier, they've got that download. You can try it out for 60 minutes. So if you just want to confirm everything we're saying here, you can do it for yourself. Also, like we mentioned earlier, we're actually going to be running in a league. The Touring Pro Series is putting on using the Brazilian stock cars in Game Stock Car 2012. If you want to join us, head to our forums and the TPS section, and it's called the World Super Tech Series. They race on Fridays at 2100 GMT. And we're actually going to play a cool promotional video or intro video that they had done for it by Ryan Callen, and it kind of gives you a little teaser of what's coming in the upcoming season.
And while we're showing you this, if you want to participate, Season 2 of the WSS starts up July 20th, and we highly recommend not only this platform for league racing, but TPS for a place that has quality racing in general. Make sure to head to our forums to get signed up for it before it's too late. And again, like Sean and I said, we're running in it. It's only 6 race season, so it's only 6 events.
Pretty easy.
Yep. And while we're on the subject of TPS, Keith Barrick, who I talked to quite a bit and is one of the lead admins over there at TPS, turned me on to this story about one of the guys who's been running, one of the longest running participants in the Touring Pro Series, Chris Butcher, who participated in this Red Bull Gridsters competition. By doing so, he won an all-expense-paid trip to Abu Dhabi, where he'll get to drive the Red Bull simulator and meet the team.
And if you're not familiar with this competition, it's not a big surprise because we weren't familiar with this competition, but I gotta tell you, it's really cool. It was to find the UK's best race gamer. They had to first apply and then show up at the Goodwood Festival of Speed to compete in person.
So the top 16 applicants had to be at the Goodwood Festival of Speed on July 1st, or the weekend of July 1st, to participate. The top 4 would have the night paid for so they could compete on Saturday. Once there, they had to do round-robin racing against each other in 3 different titles: Gran Turismo 5, F1 2011, and Forza Motorsports 4.
And you and I, for a very long time, have talked about how would you have a competition to find the best racing gamer, I guess. And it was doing something like this and bringing in...
Well, we've always said sim racer.
Yeah.
And so, I guess doing a racing gamer, those titles fit. But if we were to do it, Game Stock Car would be on the list, iRacing, and R Factor, or Richard Burns Rally.
Yeah.
So,
but the important thing being making these guys compete in different types of sims or games to really define a champion.
I believe Chris Butcher was one of the first times he had tried one of the titles too. Maybe it was Forza or...
Right.
So
you wouldn't know it.
No, he won. He dominated, as a matter of fact. Congratulations, Chris, and we hope you have a great trip. And as a matter of fact, if you see this and you're able to take pictures or anything of the trip, please share it with us, and we'll share it with our viewers here on the show. Thanks again to Keith Barrett for sharing that story with us. So that's going to wrap up the first half of the show. Stay tuned for the second half. When we come back, we're going to have Forza DLC giveaway and the 120 Minutes of Thunder at the Glen wrap-up.
TAMIYA's extensive lineup of radio-controlled vehicles provides hobbyists with the joy of running exact replicas of their favorite car, tank, or off-road vehicle. Another attraction of these vehicles is their use of high-grade materials, such as nylon resin, carbon fiber, and polycarbonate. With precise mechanical systems, the maintenance and adjustment of the various components, as well as performance upgrading with optional parts, allows for truly competitive racing. For more information about TAMIYA, visit us at www.tamiyausa.com.
Does a real race car have a center post? Of course not, and neither should your race rig. The R-Seat Evo V3 with its unique design has no center post. The R-Seat Evo replicates what you would be accustomed to in your daily driver or something you may take to the track. It can accommodate drivers from 4'11" up to over 6'6" tall and is pre-drilled for all of the major wheel manufacturers on the market today. When it comes to performance, look no further than the R-Seat Evo V3. Check out the R-Seat Evo and other sim racing equipment by heading to www.rseat.net.
Welcome back to This Week Inside Sim Racing. Darren Gange here with Sean Cole. And before we get going, we'd like to thank one of our new sponsors who just came on board recently, NVIDIA. Make sure to check out our new NVIDIA section by clicking on the tab at the top of our homepage to get to it. In it, we have settings for graphics cards and a survey where you can win some cool free NVIDIA stuff. As a matter of fact, we have a link to that page here in the description of our show.
Now, back at E3, we actually had a contest, some Forza DLC for the Porsche expansion pack to be more particular. And this was a Facebook contest where you're going to have to go on there and tell us which of the Porsches that you like the best. You had to get the most likes and have the most creative reply.
And some were creative, but all of them got to the point. We decided to award 4 participants since we kind of lagged on this. I mean, it's been a little while since E3.
We got some reminders, I think, that kind of
what about my deal? I'm going to buy the DLC if you don't give it to me. Anyway, those 4 winners are Gino Fornaro, Mark Reardon, Michael Dalbeck, and Cody Blank. Congratulations, guys, and thanks for participating and sharing which car is your favorite in the pack. Please email us directly at info@insidesimracing.tv to claim your prize if you haven't yet, because I actually posted something on Facebook, so
they should know by now?
Yep.
All right. Well, next up, speaking of prizes, we have the 120 Minutes of Thunder, which had a lot of prizes in it.
Had a lot of prizes. If you weren't familiar, it was 2 hours of racing, Watkins Glen, multi-class, the Riley Daytona prototypes, and the Cadillac CTS-Vs in iRacing. And this is our second big event of the year that Sean and I put on for iRacing in iRacing. And some great sponsors on board. We gave away 10 prizes, and John Hill was involved, and he helped with the broadcast. He did the color commentation on PSR TV, and he's going to join us for that recap.
Yeah, it took place back on June 30th, and it was a 2-hour event. And if you want to check that out, we actually have the full replay on our SRT Media channel, so you can check out the full thing. Right now, we're going to kind of go to a recap and kind of catch up on how it all played out.
All right, welcome to our 120 minutes of Thunder post-race coverage or post-race recap. I'm Darren Ganji here with
Sean Cole
and
John Hill.
And brought John in mainly because he covered the first split and the broadcast for PSR TV. And John, thanks for handling that for us and covering for us there.
I had fun.
And we appreciate you doing that, bud.
You're welcome.
And so first up, we're going to talk about, there was 10 different prizes that we gave away. And we're going to go over each one of those winners from all the different splits. And starting with the first split, first prize goes to Fredrik Follestad, and he was a Cadillac driver. And Fredrik actually chose the 670 GTX NVIDIA video card.
Nice pick.
Yep. Second place went to Riley driver, and that was also in the top split. Riley driver Renato Dornelis, and he picked the Thrustmaster TH8 RS.
And the third and fourth place prizes came from the second split, with the third prize going to Riley driver Jesper Peterson, and he picked the GT Omega Racing Simulator Pro Edition. And the fourth prize would have gone to Jan-Paul Nui had he registered for the event, but we are very specific in the rules. You need to register, therefore he passed on that prize, and the winning prize actually went to Darren Seal, and he picked the RC monitor stand, the triple edition, right? He went with the triple?
Triple, and he picked black for his color.
All right.
So John, what about that third split?
Third split, the fifth prize went to Riley driver Gabriel Alejandro Leganini, and the sixth prize went to Cadillac driver Tommy Nilsson.
Now, we didn't talk about what prizes were given there because Gabriel Leganini has yet to get back to me. And I have been like doing a frickin' search for this guy. So Gabriel, you need to get in touch with us because Tommy Nilsson,
he's definitely gotten a hold of
he has gotten a hold of us a bunch, and he wants that G27. So we'll talk about the prizes that are still left over, but these guys, they haven't got to pick their prize yet because Gabriel's holding him up. So in the next split was actually the top rookie and D split, and that's 7th and 8th prize. And 7th prize goes to Cadillac driver Dennis Hirschka, and 8th prize goes to Riley driver Eric Myers.
And the 9th prize actually went to the Riley winner in the 4th split, I believe, and that was Jason Dunnington.
And the final prize went to the rookie class second split, Riley driver, and that was Thomas Putz.
We'd also like to congratulate the 44 winners. We just congratulated a lot of them right there, but 10 of them to be exact. But actually, no, Darren Seal was a second place driver.
That's right.
So 44 different guys took the checkered flag, and we'd like to congratulate all of them. We're going to scroll their names here, and all of those guys got a certificate. Actually, all the podium finishers.
122.
Sean knows because you can thank him, guys, for all those PDFs. He made all those certificates one by one, and so congratulations to all the podium finishers in all 22 splits. And some statistics on the day in the top split, or the top sets of splits, I should say. There was 17 splits, Pro through C drivers, 425 Rileys, and 236 Cadillacs.
In addition to that, in the rookie and D splits, you had an additional 115 Rileys and 91 Cadillacs.
So closer split as far as the amount of Cadillacs to Riley ratio in the rookie D.
And if you want a shot at prize, that was a good move because you had better odds as a Cadillac driver.
Yep. 2 splits that were all Aussies, and we're going to get to that in a minute. That was a mistake on the logistical end, but they were all supposed to be driving with us. It was kind of a bummer because the Aussies, John, as you were doing some research early on, were some of the fastest guys. I mean, the pole sitter and the Cadillac, the 2 fastest guys were Aussies.
Yeah, Dylan Sharman and Madison Down.
Yeah, and both those guys, Aussies, didn't get to run in that top split with the rest of the guys, so they all had a great race, and they were all split. All the Aussies were split off into their own kind of segregated. So that was a little bit of a mishap at the beginning, but ended up working out. So those 2, the top drivers in the Aussie split winners were Dan Giange, I believe I probably butchered his last name, And then Dylan Sharman won the Cadillac. Both those drivers get $100 iRacing credits.
Not bad. Little makeup since they would have been in a top split probably.
And,
For sure.
And they had a shot at one of those top prizes, so they got taken out of the running for, Fredrik got that GTX. Everybody wanted that GTX. A lot of people did at least. So anyway, next up we got to another little problem that we had on the day. The Cadillacs ended up being gridded in front of the Rileys. And John actually got to witness a little bit of this mayhem, and a lot of you out there already have too. The infamous second split big one that took place on lap 2. And let's start with you, Sean, because unfortunately you were probably one of the first guys out on the day.
I was the last gridded Cadillac, which meant I was going to have the best seat in the house for the mishap that was to come.
And for the Rileys coming buzzing through you like a swarm of bees.
And I knew this was going to happen. I got way out of the way and just was like, get by. And now I'm all clean. And I thought that would have been good enough. But like you said, the big one did happen.
It did. And it was lap 2, exiting the boot. John, you had a little mishap of your own there. This is John. First of all, I'd like to give John some props here. First of all, for jumping into a situation like this, 2-hour broadcast. He's never done that before, so just getting set up, trying to find which one of those 22 splits, or 17 on the Pro C side, but which one of those 17 splits was the top split, must have been a little task in itself.
Well, number one, it wasn't even showing up on my computer. Not at all. The rookies were, and they kept saying, well, that's rookies. And I said, well, just go below that. And I said, there's nothing below it. And I just kept looking and looking and looking. And
I'm sure it was kind of a panic because you wanted to get in there.
I was having a panic attack, yeah.
So John ended up coming into our split. And while Tony Stevens, who by the way did a great job of calling all the action in that top split, while he's calling the action and trying to keep things going in that first split, John's watching what unfolded in our split, which was this huge one. And
the early going in GT for the class win.
Oh, we're having a big pileup back here. Coming out of the booth.
Well, we had to report a couple of cars off course, but it was an errant report. That's Paulo Valente right now looking at that battle. You see him in one of the DP cars.
And again, a big part of it was because we didn't, first of all, the Cadillac should have been gridded in front. My suggestion was Cadillacs run through pit lane. And then we would have passed them. We'll talk about what happened in the first split. They had a great idea and it worked out for them. But what we tried to do in our split was the Rileys tried to space it back a little bit. But when did you say? I think you guys were just going up the S's.
I think it was only about a 6-second gap. And by the time, turn 2, you guys were already on top of us. The other thing that you mentioned, I just want to hit upon this, is we had 22 different races. And on the spot, every room had to figure out how to handle it. And like you said, you made a suggestion to our room and a few other suggestions were made. And every room, once again, had to decide collectively as a group, how are we going to handle this situation? And some rooms did it better than others.
Yeah, actually, I think ours was the worst. Second split, and you know what? It was just a chain reaction. And you know, from the looks of it, the pink Cadillac touched the other white Cadillac, got him to spin, coming up out of the boot, which is probably the toughest section on the whole course. And then from my standpoint, I was at the tail end of the Rileys. I was the 40th car on the grid. So I was the last car qualified in our split because of how the Rileys ended up. I should have been in the third split if the Aussies were in our group.
We both would have.
Yeah, we both would have ended up in that third split. But so originally I contemplated starting in pit lane, which would have been brilliant. I wouldn't have lost a lap, but I didn't. Coming up through that section, I was on the mic and we got some footage of it saying, slow up guys, we're coming up on the Rileys, we're coming up on the Rileys.
Easy guys, lots of traffic. I'll take it easy on these caddies.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
See, that's what's going to happen when you start like that.
and I exit the boot, and I go into a wall of cars, and there was nothing I could do. I did a little slow spin, got some damage, sat there, and then you came up on it.
I come flying into it. I see you sideways, and I come to a stop, and I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
And going the wrong way on the track, as a matter of fact. And I stopped with a few feet between us and just thought, everybody work it out. I'm like one of the last cars at this point on the track. Figure I got all the time in the world. Sort it out amongst yourselves, and I'll get back underway. And that wasn't a good plan.
John, I think that's about what you saw.
Well, I think Sean did such a smart move, and he's just sitting there, and then somebody just came and whacked him about as hard as you can whack anybody.
Yep. I got lucky, and you'll see here in the replay, I kind of snaked back around. I'm like, I'm out of here. I got to get out of here and get away from this mayhem. And I got lucky and slipped through that. And but yeah, you didn't get so lucky.
No, I had to tow around, and then my car was useless. That was the end of my day as quick as it started.
2 laps for Sean, a lap and a half for Sean, so bummer for Sean. My race, actually, after that, went fairly well, considering. I did have some damage. I had some toe damage. The wheel was cocked a little bit to the left. I was pushing, I think, on right-handers, so I really couldn't get good runs out of the corners. I was 3 laps down. Looking back, what I should have done, I should have stayed out. I dove right into the pits 3 corners later. The car was actually handling decent, but 3 minutes worth of damage repair put me 3 laps down. Then my goal when I came out was to get past the Cadillacs. I did not want to finish behind the Cadillac. So my goal was to get in front of the Cadillacs and just finish where I could. I ended up 10th overall, 10th in class, picked up some safety rating and some I rating. So I had a decent day when all was said and done. I mean, it was kind of a boring race for me after that because I had no one to race with. Everybody was either too far in front of or too far behind me. But everybody seemed to have fun. Overall, wouldn't you guys say that?
Yeah.
That from the forums and stuff, forum posts?
I'll go out on a plank here. I mean, I put an entire month into not only working on my car, my setup, my race weekend, but also spending a lot of time helping out others. I mean, we really pushed this event and wanted to help a lot of people get up to speed, put a lot of personal time into it. And then I'm taken out a lap and a half later. You know what? That sucks, but at the same time, it was a great event, and I had a lot of fun. I mean, even that lap and a half, just being in a group and everybody have to collectively figure out what to do was kind of exciting and fun. Maybe not how you want things to play out, but it did make it fun, and it was a blast, even though it was short for me.
And John, I'd like to, on another note, thank you for being our moderator on our forums the last few months. Came on and it's been helping us there. But you've seen a lot of talk, chatter, post-race, and actually you saw all the people, signing up pre-race. We got a lot of new members on our forums because of this event, but everybody seemed to have a good time.
It sounded that way to me, that everybody had a good time. Not any hard feelings at all. And I think a lot of people that were racing this race hadn't done this before, hadn't done multi-class, hadn't done a long race, and they were really thrilled by the whole idea of it. So I think we're going to be seeing more of this in the future.
Well, yeah, we got another one planned in September. Not a multi-class. We're going to probably go back to ovals, but another big special event. But let's get to the top split. Let's talk about the guys on the top. First of all, that was a high strength of field race. That was a 39.44 strength of field. Wow. So that's a points gainer there, or could kill you, depending.
Right.
So, if I would have made that top split, my I rating is only 2,200. I could have had I'm actually about 2,600 on the roadside. But we could have had some huge gains in that top split.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our split was about 3,000, I think, so we had a pretty decent split.
It's still a strong field.
Yeah. So, let's talk about the start, first of all.
Waiting on the green flag, and there it is from Fredrik Follestad. He will be the first one down into turn number 1. Daytona prototype start forthcoming here in just a minute. They race over into turn number 1.
Now, we've all gone back and watched it, but Renato, who was the pole sitter of the Rileys, he really did a great job, didn't he, of spacing those two classes out.
Yeah, I think the Cadillacs were coming out of the boot or in the middle of the boot when the Rileys finally started.
Green flag is out for that group, and they now racing into turn number 1. Looks like, for the most part, a relatively smooth start for the Daytona prototypes as they work into turn number 1.
So by the time the Rileys caught them, the Cadillacs had already spread out amongst themselves, and it wasn't a disaster when they caught him, and everybody handled it really well.
And then the Rileys by that time were able to kind of spread things out.
Yeah.
Green machine, first couple DPs get by. Renato Dornelis, Bruno DiCarmo, they both work by. Here comes the rest of the DP field, including Anthony Roselli, Daniel Sinka, Alexi Usi, Jagola coming by as well. So DP now starting to slice and dice their way through the field.
All right, well, first up, let's start talking about the Riley battles. We had quite a battle up there for the lead in the early stages of the race. 4 players that seemed to be part of that battle, starting with the pole sitter, Renato Dornelis. But one of the guys that was really hounding him for a while was Daniel Sinka, right, John?
Yeah, it was a 4-car train.
4-car train. But so Daniel Sinka, though, I think was one of the ones that really was there battling with him
Right.
for a good portion of the race, and then something happened to Daniel.
Certainly something to keep an eye on now as your overall leader. Big trouble for your leader in the final quarter. Daniel Sinka, just like we were talking about, John, has to have all that stress under control. He made contact with one of the Cadillacs head on in the outside arm cone, the tire barrier in the final quarter. Tough break for Daniel Sinka. He gets it righted. But
So that was about an hour and 16 minutes into the race. So that took one contender out. So who was the next contender that Renato had to fend off?
I think Anthony Roselli.
So what happened to him? Because now I'm looking at the podium finishers. It was Renato Dornelis, Jim Shedlick, and Paolo Valente. And Paolo Valente and Jim Shedlick are not any of the guys that were in this 4-car battle.
No.
So what happened to Roselli?
Roselli was doing pretty good, and
big trouble.
time.
Anthony Roselli in trouble in the boot section. We talked about getting in the traffic, trying to end up not losing time. One of the cars wrecked in front of him.
And then that left, now this guy, I believe, was friends with Hugo Louis.
Yeah.
Current reigning world champion. We saw those guys practicing the night before. We were hoping Hugo was going to join the race, but he didn't.
He said he was just working on a setup for a friend.
Yeah, and Hugo set what would have been the pole time in the Rileys. And but his buddy, Bruno DiCarmo, he was a contender.
yeah.
Took himself out. Or did he? What happened with him, John? Maybe he didn't take himself out, but what happened
Well,
with him?
that was the most dramatic crash to me.
Big trouble.
Oh,
Bruno DiCarmo.
man.
He has found trouble at the top of the S's, and it looks like Bruno DiCarmo's day is over. DiCarmo, the 3rd leader in the 120 minutes of Thunder, has found trouble.
Because what was happening was he had a pretty good lead for a while. I think it was as much as 6 seconds. But then Dornelis started catching him, and it was down to 4, and then 3, and then I think he got a little psyched out and was passing a Cadillac, going into the S's, and the Cadillac closed the door. Bruno wasn't expecting it, and they had it coming together, and that was the end of Bruno.
So it was going into the S's?
Right, yeah, going right into the S's, and
Yeah, that's a touchy.
basically
that's a tough
in the
spot.
middle of the S's as the Cadillac was, hanging to the wall, the rail on his right.
Yeah, that is not, for running for 2 hours and passing those Cadillacs, in my opinion, not a good place to make that move.
No, but he had been facing this shrinking gap, and the pressure,
Pressure
was
was
on.
Pressure was on, yeah, and he had to make sure that that gap was maintained. So yeah, speaking of, I would say some of the better places to make those passes were, I liked making the pass, and as a Cadillac driver, I don't know, we did a lot of practice pre-race. Coming up at the top of the S's, I like to show that I was going to come outside, and the Cadillacs all seemed to take the inside line for me and let me make that pass, and we both got great runs that didn't affect either of us.
And you said it so importantly for us. I wanted to drift out, but whenever you got a Riley behind, as long as they did that, as long as they made it clear that they were going to go left, then we would stay right. It didn't take any speed for us to stay right. Your car just kind of wanted to go left, but it made it a great passing zone for somebody who'd been held up through the S's.
And all race long, I did not come in contact with one Cadillac. They ran completely clean, so thank you to all the Cadillac drivers in my split and the second split, but the gaps were so close as far as the closure rate that as long as you just took your time, even if you got stuck behind a Cadillac for a corner or two, it didn't hold you up that bad. Right. You just had to be patient, let them drive their line, and if they went wide for you, take the spot. But so that pretty much cost Bruno the race.
Yeah. Well, I actually thought Renato was going to catch him anyway.
So Dornelis was putting the pressure on.
Yeah.
So that put Dornelis in the position to take the win, and sure enough, he did. And followed by Jim Shedlick, who we mentioned, finished 23.6 seconds back, and Paolo Valente finished 39 seconds back of Renato. So congratulations to you guys for finishing on the podium. All right, so next up, Cadillacs, and Fredrik Follestad, who sat on the pole in the top split, actually didn't really sat on the pole and was hoping to battle with the guys we mentioned earlier, Dylan Sharman and Madison Downs.
Yeah, I think he had a little rivalry that had been building up all month long, and the times were very close. They should have been in the same race.
Now, you were a Cadillac driver. Those guys were flying.
Yeah, I don't know what they were doing. I tried.
They were in the 44s?
Yeah, 44s, and all month long. I mean, I put a lot into this one. I was really trying to make that top split. And then when those three started posting their times, it was like, are you kidding me? I mean, it was like they had a different car, I have to admit.
Time to start working on the race set.
Yeah.
I'm just going to settle right where I'm at.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happened with me, too. I could have pushed. And actually, if I would have known where I was starting, I would have pushed a little bit harder to try to get higher up in that second split. But I was hoping for the third split. Yes, John?
Well, those guys are so fast because they're so on the edge.
Yeah.
I was watching the in-car cameras of Follestad, and it was like he was coming so close to losing it a bunch of times, and they don't leave anything on the table. They're just right on the edge.
Yeah, and some of the top Cadillac drivers in all of iRacing, and they were in this race. And so let's talk about the race, speaking of which. So did anybody give Fredrik in that split any kind of, did they make him sweat at all?
Oh yeah, the first quarter of the race, there was 3 Cadillacs that were on top of each other. I think Nick Prestige was one of them, Bienkowski, but it was very tight. It was only later that Fredrik started pulling away.
Any big mishaps in that race, or that? As far as I heard, like the Cadillacs in that split, and there was about 15 Cadillacs, I think. About 25 Rileys to 15 Cadillacs in all the upper splits. So that's some pretty good. I mean, personally, I want to battle with at least 15 cars or so when I'm in a race. 10 or less, and it's kind of like as soon as a couple guys are gone, things spread out, and there's nobody to race against anymore. So that's a pretty good sized field. So any major mishaps during the Cadillac race?
Well, the 2 other drivers giving Follestad competition, Bienkowski and Pierre Buzu and Nick Prestige, they had a number of incidents happen to them. Until finally it was just about impossible for them to drive their cars.
Now, so that's pretty much what took those guys out of contention. So congratulations to the Cadillac podium finishers. Fredrik Follestad, again, who took first place honors, got that NVIDIA GTX 670 video card. Nick Versteege took second place in the Cadillac division, and Ricardo Mashuka rounded out that podium. So congratulations to all the podium drivers in all 22 splits on the day. I wish I could have been a podium finisher and got one of those cool certificates for my wall. Again, thanks to Sean for putting all those together for us. So closing thoughts, guys. What do you guys think of the event? How did you guys think it went off? John, starting with you. As a true spectator and the guy who was in the top split.
I started off in a panic, and then it got better. And I can't say enough how much I appreciated the professionalism of Tony's work. Really, they can keep track of all of these different people and not make any flubs, not too many. And I was really impressed with that.
Did you see Tony, speaking of which, different subject, did you guys see Tony landed a job on Fox Sports? Calling a real race?
Really?
He told me he was going to get that.
He posted it on iRace. I think it's airing right around when we're filming this, but congratulations, Tony, for landing that gig, and I guess it's some big Legends race.
How cool.
Yeah, so...
he's great, so I mean, it's no surprise that he would get hired to do something like that.
Thanks again to PSR TV and Ian Bushing for the kick-ass job that they always do. Chuck Johnson behind the scenes, Zach Stanko, the cameraman. Those guys always do a stand-up job, and we'd like to thank them for putting up with us and putting up with poor John. Poor guy was trying to find the split. Finally did, and I gotta say, John did a really good job. Once you got in the groove and kind of got in the swing of things, you did a really good job. So other than that, the AUSSIE split off and the Cadillac mishap and a couple other minor ones, I think it was a success.
Yeah. For me, I'm going to focus less on the race itself and more on the event, obviously, because I wasn't there for the end of the race. This event went down exactly how we wanted. This was a combination of maybe new iRacers, people who are trying it out for the first time, had a month to prepare with us or with the group, get up to speed. You had some veterans of the sim that were involved in this. You had a massive amount of people. You had people having to be the epitome of gentleman racing, making a decision right at the drop of the green flag. How do we handle a bizarre situation? And I just want to applaud everybody, 860, 870 people, whatever.
867.
867 people who ultimately all made really good decisions. And it was just such a spectacular event. I know we're doing more of these, like you said, September.
Well, wait a second. I know of one driver that didn't make the wisest decision. Pink Cadillac guy.
I'm letting him.
We're not going to call you out, but dude, you were the one that caused that big split wreck. So, but anyway, we all had a great time, and I'm personally looking forward to the next one. Hopefully, we'll be able to race in it again. If not, we'll be calling the action in the broadcast booth. And John, maybe you'll get to race in the next one.
Maybe. I'm not real big on ovals, though. Sorry.
Well, we're not sure what we're going to do yet, Oval. What do you mean? You just told us you finished second at Martinsville last night in the trucks.
I got lucky.
So that's going to pretty much wrap up our coverage of the 120 minutes of Thunder at the Glen. And thanks to all of our sponsors, iRacing, PSR TV, NVIDIA, Thrustmaster, GT Omega Racing Simulators, R-Seat, Grandstand, Derek Spear Designs, Logitech G27 compliments of iRacing, TAMIYA USA, and all of you 867 drivers out there that participated and had a good time like all of us seem to have had. Hopefully we'll see you guys for the next one. So that's going to wrap up the show for today. Make sure to visit us at InsideSimRacing.tv. Check out our forums. Register at our forums to join in on the conversation. Like us on Facebook, Inside Sim Race, facebook.com/Inside Sim Racing. And Sean, anything else?
No, I mean, like you said, get in that forum. We will be making announcements for the next race. So if you've enjoyed our coverage here, you want to be a part of that next big spectacle, that's where you're going to find out about it.
John, any final thoughts?
See you in my rearview mirror.
There you go. We'll have John back with Rearview Mirror again pretty soon, and make sure to tune in for that. For John Hill and Sean Cole, I'm Darren Ganji, and we'll see you guys next time.